Good evening, everyone. Thanks for coming. Hurricane Milton, as I'm sure you know, has intensified very quickly throughout the day. Very rapid intensification. Currently a Category 5 storm with winds of 180 miles per hour. One of the strongest storms on record. It's a storm that we absolutely need to take seriously here, and we will. We are currently under a hurricane watch here in Duval County, a storm surge watch, and a flood watch. We're currently expecting sustained tropical storm force winds of 40 to 50 miles per hour with gusts of 60 to 70. At the beaches, intracoastal, along the St. Johns River, and high-profile buildings, we can expect slightly stronger sustained winds and potentially sustained hurricane force winds. While the winds may be similar to Helene, the threat of flooding rain is one of the biggest differences. That's really what we're looking at this time, and that's what we're most really concerned about compared to what we were concerned about with Helene. Our ground is obviously already saturated. The river levels are elevated, and we're expecting at least 4 to 6 inches of rain with a chance of as high as 10 inches of rain in some areas of the city in a very short period of time. Those factors combined put us at risk for tidal flooding of 2 to 4 feet in Ortega, Riverside, San Marco, Southampton, downtown, and along the Trout River, Ribault River, and Moncrief Creek. The beaches could see a similar level of storm surge this time. As for timing, we expect the outer bands to start here on Wednesday afternoon, so the forecast has pushed out a little bit as the storm has slowed a little bit. So Wednesday afternoon with tropical storm force winds and the worst weather occurring Wednesday night and into Thursday morning. So if there's good news there, we really should be getting our worst weather when most people should be at home. Tidal flooding will be increasing throughout Thursday, peaking Thursday afternoon, and possibly on Friday in concert with the high tides. All in all, your preparations at home should be finished by Tuesday night, and we're asking everyone to stay home and off the roads on Wednesday. If you live in a flood-prone area, we encourage you to find shelter on higher ground or in one of our city shelters. Alex Booth from the National Weather Service is going to tell us more in just a few moments, but I need to get through a bunch of other information for you first. So, local state of emergency, we'll be declaring that at 8 a.m. tomorrow morning. As a reminder, this is a necessary step to initiate the local resources that are needed to protect the public during a storm. Also today, Governor DeSantis added Duval County to the executive order declaring a state of emergency on the state level. So we appreciate the state's collaboration and support, even when they prepare for other parts of the state facing the brunt of this storm. Both the president and vice president's office called me within the last hour to ask if there is anything that we need and to offer their assistance through the storm. They asked us to keep in touch and let us know if there is anything we need here in Jacksonville, and I'm very grateful for that, given all the needs that they have been actively having to address in both all of the Florida, Georgia, and in the Carolinas. The Duval County Emergency Operations Center is partially activated today, and it will move to full activation at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. Our team will also be providing a briefing to the City Council at 3 p.m. tomorrow afternoon. At the conclusion of this special council meeting, they will adjourn and immediately convene their regular council meeting. In terms of office closures, so again, we are open for business on Tuesday. All City of Jacksonville offices will be closed beyond essential personnel Wednesday through Friday. So Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, only essential personnel will be reporting for duty. Duval County Public Schools will also be closed from Wednesday through Friday for safety and because many of our city shelters will be at school locations, and we really appreciate their service to Jacksonville when it comes to these storms. The following constitutional offices will be closed from Wednesday through Friday with only essential personnel reporting as well. That's the tax collector, property appraiser, and supervisor of elections. The 4th Judicial Circuit Court, clerk of court, and public defender's office will be closed the same days with the first appearance court still conducting normal operations. While you will see the weather clearing up on Friday, please keep in mind that we anticipate storm debris and continued tidal flooding into Friday. Additionally, 5 of our shelters are at schools. So speaking of the shelters, we have 6 for for this storm. We had 5 for the last one. We've added one for this storm to have one that's closer to the beaches because we do expect to have more severe conditions out toward the beaches this time. But especially if you're in a trailer or an older home or a low-lying area or under a heavy tree canopy, please consider going to a shelter. The following shelters or finding a place to shelter. And I want to remind people that if you do decide to leave and shelter someplace else, you don't have to go far. You can relocate to a place that could be 5 or 10 miles from your home that just happens to be in a place that is safer and doesn't have one of those characteristics. So here are the shelters. Atlantic Coast High School, Chaffee Trail Elementary, the Legend Center, Landmark Middle School, La Villa School of the Arts, and Arlington Middle School. We'll also have, did I say I said the Legend Center. Okay, JTA will also be providing free transportation to shelters starting on Wednesday morning. And I want to take a moment to talk about something that I shared with you earlier today that I think is going to be helpful in this storm. We introduced today something we are calling HealthLink Jacks, and that is a brand new program that is meant to help us reduce the 911 emergencies that people, when people show up in emergency rooms, when they have conditions that aren't necessarily an emergency. So if you're uninsured and you need health care, please contact HealthLink Jacks. This is a free service available 24/7 that provides on-demand visits with board-certified doctors through a video call, and then connects patients with free local clinics and other existing community resources. Now, obviously, if you have a true emergency, please, we want you to go to the emergency room or call 911. If you don't, and you just have something that you're concerned about, make use of that line. It's 904-925-CARE. That's 904-925-2273. And it's available to all Duval County residents who do not have insurance. In terms of JEA, these guys were rock stars during Helene. They did a great job of getting power back quickly and safely. And I want to tell you, they're really pressed this time because the crews have now all been deployed up to North Carolina. There's a lot of crews that have now been deployed down to the Tampa area where we're expecting the brunt of this storm to hit. So they don't have as many crews that are able to tackle this storm as we had before Helene. We've got another 20 crews coming tomorrow, but that's still about 37% of what we had for Helene. We're going to continue to try to get more. But please, I'm asking you, knowing what others are going to be going through around this state with a Category 5 hurricane barreling down the ocean at them, please try to have some patience as we try to get the power restored. They're doing the best they can and they're working hard and trying to be safe at the same time. Okay, JTA will continue to run regular operations on JTA's fixed bus route, BRT First Coast Flyer routes, connection and ready ride service as long as it's safe to do so on Wednesday and Thursday. Friday operations will be determined based on what happened. We'll have to see what conditions are like. The last trip for the St. Johns River Ferry will be at 10:45 tomorrow morning so that it can be taken to a safe location. It will reopen at some point on Friday as soon as it's safe to do so. The Skyway will be closed on Wednesday and Thursday and will reopen on Friday. And Ken Knight Drive, one of our areas that historically floods, and we expect it to absolutely flood during this storm. There'll be trips that you can take to shelters from there. JTA is providing free shuttles for Ken Knight Drive residents starting at 8 a.m. Wednesday through the duration of the storm. So pickup will be at bus stop 3991, located at Ken Knight Drive and Moncrief Road. Residents will be transported to the Legend Center at 5130 Sutel Drive. They'll only have essential personnel reporting Wednesday and Thursday, with Friday to be determined. Greyhound has canceled all bus operations across Florida beginning at 6 p.m. tomorrow. It is undetermined when they will resume operations. Our downtown terminal will remain closed until that happens. As far as parking goes, if you live in a flood-prone area or are concerned about damage to your car, the following city-owned garages will be open downtown starting at 8 a.m. Wednesday through Friday. Water Street Garage, the Ed Ball Building Garage, the Yates Building, and the Duval Street Garage. So that's the Water Street Garage is at 541 Water Street, the Ed Ball Building at 238 West Monroe, the Yates Building at 200 East Adams Street, and Duval Street at 33 West Duval Street. JTA will also, as they did last storm, be opening the Kings Avenue Garage for free as well. Our various public works teams are taking care of trees and clearing drains and inlets and ditches and securing loose items in advance of the storm. For the first time ever, a tiger dam is being set up in Jacksonville Beach to help with storm surge. We will be keeping solid waste pickup on schedule tomorrow. All Thursday, solid waste collections, garbage, recycling, and yard waste will be suspended. Trail Ridge landfill will be closed on Thursday as well. And Thursday collection for garbage and recycling will be rescheduled to Saturday. Friday collection for garbage and recycling is anticipated to occur as normal at this point. Yard waste and debris collections will resume in an ongoing manner on Friday until all debris is removed from Helene and Milton. So a lot of folks have asked questions about that, and I want you to understand, again, we have a big city, and due to the volume of debris that was received in Hurricane Helene, some of the yard waste collection pickups are behind schedule. We have brought in extra crews, and we ask for your patience as they continue to work around the clock to pick up that debris. And if you see any debris still sitting out in front of your house, or there's debris that you're thinking of putting out there, please try to get that in a place where it's not going to blow around between now and if it's not picked up tomorrow, when the storm comes, try to secure that in as much as you can, and don't put any new waste out there until we can get our arms around this. As Hurricane Milton approaches, we ask you to help us in as much as you can in getting that debris off the curbs. The airport is monitoring this storm, and there have not been any flight cancellations at this time. As always, passengers should check directly with their airline on flight status. I'm gonna repeat something that I said last week. JIA doesn't close unless all flights are canceled. And once all flights are canceled, they are not a shelter, so you cannot hang out at the airport. So check with your airline to make sure your flight is still going to travel on time. Jacksport is open and operational as they continue to monitor the storm. The return of the Carnival Elation voyage that departed on October 5th may be delayed in coming back in. Guests scheduled to depart Jacksport on October 10th can sign up for text alerts from Carnival. JSO is setting up extra patrols to monitor bridges, provide traffic control, and close off flooded roads. And they ask us to remind you, please do not drive through flooded waters. We're going to have some flooding in this storm. And in fact, if we get flooding to 4 feet or above, it's going to get into some homes and businesses. So I'm asking you to please be very careful and don't drive through those flooded areas unless you need to, and don't drive through anything too deep. JFRD also will be staging 3 swift water rescue teams, 6 emergency road access teams, and 1 urban search and rescue team. We did have a few ERAT teams supporting on Helene response in North Carolina. They have moved to St. Petersburg for Hurricane Milton, and we're really grateful for these brave teams for showing up for these communities. Keep in mind, though, that even with the support for neighboring communities, we do have enough teams here at home to protect the public. So don't worry about that. They're just, they're wonderful to go down and do that for our neighbors. As far as final preps are concerned, today and tomorrow are the days to complete your home preparations before rain bands start coming in on Wednesday afternoon. Please secure your home, clean up any limbs or debris, clear your drains and gutters, and secure loose outdoor items that could become projectiles. Be mindful of trees that could become uprooted from heavy winds in our already saturated grounds. And we've had these previous weeks of rain. So hopefully a lot of our weak trees are already gone from the last storm, but we still have to be mindful of that, especially given that the winds may be a little stronger. Ensure your supply kits are stocked up and that you have an emergency plan for your family. All your final preps should be in place before Wednesday evening. Again, I would ask you to make sure that you call 630-CITY, 630-2489. If you have any issues that you need to report, we have extended hours on Tuesday from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., and they'll reopen at 7 a.m. on Wednesday morning and stay open until all the ERAT teams are deactivated or until otherwise announced. And again, for more information on this storm and for all of the things that I just said to you, I recommend once again for you to go to the Jax Ready app. So jaxready.com/Milton. That'll give you all the information that you need. I'll come back to answer any questions that you have in a few minutes, but right now I'm going to turn it over for a look at our forecast. Alex?
Thank you, Mary. Alex Booth, I'm the meteorologist here with the National Weather Service. Just to discuss Hurricane Milton today, we saw a rapid intensification, as the mayor alluded to earlier, to a Category 5 storm, which is now moving east around 10 miles an hour in the Bay of Campeche. toward the Yucatan, and that's going to continue through tonight. And then tomorrow, we'll take a northeastward turn and start heading toward the Florida Peninsula. As it does so, it's going to accelerate, it's going to quicken, and it's going to maintain a major intensity as it makes its track towards Florida through Wednesday. As far as the winds felt from Milton, we have a cold front that's going to sink over us through tomorrow, and that's going to interact with the storm between Tuesday into Wednesday, and by Wednesday we may see at the earliest, by the afternoon, tropical storm force winds beginning, especially at the coast. Those chances for winds will be increasing and become more likely for tropical storm force winds as we get through the evening, particularly along the coast, within the riverfront, St. Johns River, in those areas. We do have a hurricane watch posted for the entire county, along with the storm surge watch for all of the St. Johns and the Atlantic coastline. For all of Duval County, we anticipate around 2 to 4 feet of storm surge along the coast and within the river. But as the storm moves closer, the winds are going to turn northerly. So the areas that are going to be particularly susceptible to higher surge, and that surge alone, will be areas on the southern end. So Southampton, Moncrief Creek, and Ribault River are three areas that we're looking at extensively, seeing potentially 5 foot of surge just for those winds kind of funneling down the river in that area. Talking about surge, we're not including the rainfall component, which is going to be the difference between what we saw with Helene and what we're going to see with Milton. The total water from the surge and the rainfall, which could be upwards of closer to 10 inches, maybe even more, closer to a foot in some locations, will exacerbate the surge flooding at times of high tide. And as far as the tornado threat, that is the one silver lining here is the path of the storm. Looks like it's going to take that eastward shift across Florida. Thursday night will put us in a better spot as far as limited tornado potential Thursday as the storm moves off and across the area. That's it. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Alex. Questions, guys?
So regarding the JEA crews, I know you mentioned that a lot went north to help with the power, obviously in the Carolinas and Georgia. You said there was 37% fewer. Can you kind of just clarify?
Well, what I'm saying is we really beefed up those crews for Helene. And a lot of those crews, so our crews are here, but we were able to grab crews from other areas who are willing to come down here and work with us to recover from Helene. Those crews are now engaged elsewhere. And so what we are doing is we're trying to go and get as many more as we can that are able to come down and help us. It's just a harder get right now because there's still so much to do up in the Carolinas and of course now that we're looking at what may happen to one of the most populated areas of our state in Tampa.
Do we know how many are still up and are they all returning home? The ones that are with JEA?
What JEA crews are here?
All of them are back.
Our JEA. Am I right on that? Yeah, JEA crews are here.
Okay.
I'm just talking about beefing up with all the extra crews that we brought in for Helene. Right now we're at about 30% additional capacity to our regular JEA crews. We'd like to get that up a little bit, and we're gonna and I can tell you that Director Cavey has been working very hard to do that, and just today she secured a bunch more than we had this morning. So we're going to continue to work on that.
Mayor, we're hearing our local fuel refineries in Jacksonville are down. Number one, do you know if that's true? And two, if it is, could it impact our gas supply potentially?
I don't know. Does anybody know that answer to that question? I have not heard that, but I'll absolutely get that information for you.
Thank you.
You mentioned the Tiger Dam. Where exactly is that going to be located and how can people?
We reach out to the beaches. All 3 beaches we're supporting the beaches with Tiger Dams.
So I don't know exactly where those Tiger Dams are going to go. I know that we talked earlier about making sure that sand is placed in those areas where the waters tend to rush over at the walkovers. But I suspect those Tiger Dams at each beach is going to go in the places they consider most vulnerable in terms of flooding. You know, at the beaches, sometimes that flooding is the worst at the estuaries and the intracoastal areas as the water backs up there. So that may be what we're talking about in terms of the Tiger Dams there, because you have a lot of homes along the intercoastal waterway or nearby that end up with water inside them, and perhaps that would be a good way to keep that out in certain areas.
Mayor, if someone chooses to utilize a shelter, is there something or things in particular they need to have with them in order to be permitted or anything like that.
Good evening, Andre, Director of Emergency Preparedness. So just bring in, just a sleeping bag, pillow, some things, I'm saying, a book, a reading book, anything like that. We'll have, through the assistance of Red Cross, we'll have drinks, snacks, and then at the second day, we'll start feeding. But yeah, just bring things that you're comfortable with. Bring your ID, just in case, you're asked, but that's it. Just your necessities for 2-3 days.
And we did hear the 6 shelters. Are any of those special needs?
Atlantic Coast High School.
Yes, Atlantic Coast and also the Legends Center is dual population.
Perfect, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
And Mayor, regarding the storm debris pickup, I know that some people are still recovering from what happened with Helene. I mean, we've actually had several people call us about the fact that they still have their debris in their front yard.
Sure.
Are we expecting to have some more extra crews helping with that?
Yes, well, the crews are working around the clock right now to get to as much of that as possible. Again, we have a city of 450 square miles. This is a big job. And the crews have really been working tirelessly since before Helene actually hit. So it's just a matter of volume and getting as much as we can possibly get. We're not alone in this. This is what's happening with communities all over these hurricane hit areas. So I can tell you our public works crews are working as hard as they possibly can, and we're bringing in extra to make sure that we get as much of that up as we can. I know it can be a frustration, but I can tell you that I know they're working around the clock.
And Mayor, we just went through Helene. Can people pretty much expect that what they encountered, the impact during Helene, is what they're going to get during Milton as well? Is it comparable? Is it going to be better,
Well, I think
worse?
what
about
you're
the same?
hearing, or at least what I'm hearing from what I'm getting from the forecast, is that unlike Helene, which did not bring much rain for us, I think we had a couple inches at most from Helene. I think we're looking at possibly, as much as 10 inches of rain with this storm, maybe more in some areas. So that is a tough situation for areas that have already had saturated grounds, and at a time when we have an elevated river and certainly during times of high tide. So I think the thing that I am personally, most stressed about in this storm is the flooding aspect. We just don't know yet how bad it's going to be, but we can assume that with the rain and with the winds and with the tides, we're going to get some flooding, and it may be flooding that is bad enough to get into people's homes and businesses. Beyond that, you're right, David. It doesn't look that much different. Although I would say that some of the wind values for the beaches are much higher than they were in the last storm.
And the rain we've been seeing today and probably tomorrow and the nor'easter type of winds, is that in any way related to Milton, or is it just coincidental? And
It's just a nor'easter. It just happens to, that's what we get this time of year, right? So it's just, I think that the good news for us is we didn't get a whole lot of extra rain today. So I guess there's some little bit of silver lining that we're not piling on the rain on top of other rain, but it's going to be an interesting thing to watch.
And with the health link that you just said that you launched, is this an effort to kind of help alleviate the emergency rooms being crowded? I mean, are the
Yeah,
hospitals feeling
the
overwhelmed?
Health Link was a completely separate announcement today, but we thought it was important to mention that today because there are so many people that end up showing up at the emergency rooms when they have conditions that could be treated by a physician, a primary care physician. As I said earlier today, primary care is our least expensive kind of care. Whereas emergency room care is our most expensive kind of care. So if we can take all those folks that don't have insurance, that feel like the emergency room is their only resort, and give them another option where we can put them on the phone or on a video call, either one with a doctor, and that doctor can then help them determine what's the severity of their condition and then connect them with services that are already available in the city of Jacksonville with a primary care doctor somewhere. That will alleviate a lot of that cost, that great cost of creating, those scenarios where people show up at the emergency room. So I think long term that's going to be a tremendous financial help and a tremendous help to folks who really struggle with health care.
there is a hurricane watch, and this hurricane seems to get stronger by the hour. Was there any consideration in calling for evacuations, or is that no evacuations? That's really not something that's going to be required for this
Well,
storm.
No, I mean, you know that if we felt that it was necessary to ask people to leave their homes, we would do that. What we've said is, we'd love for you to relocate, or if you're in one of those areas that we talked about, a low-lying area, if you're in a trailer or a home, if you're in a place with a lot of trees and low-lying, those are places we'd like you to consider leaving. But there isn't any situation under this storm right now, as we can see, that we think would merit us to say to people, you need to leave your homes. Okay? Very good. Thank you, everybody. We will see you back here tomorrow at noon.